What's good, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Boombox Guru, music commentary and music discussion for music lovers. I'm your host, LB, and we got a very good episode for you guys today. So if you don't want to miss out, tune in and keep it locked in. What's good, everybody? Just want to thank everybody for joining me for another episode of the Boombox Guru. I'm glad you guys could tune into this episode because to me it's a very special episode. I actually decided to do an album review of one of my favorite hip-hop albums of all time, the Slim Shady LP by Eminem, released on February the 23rd, 1999. I was 10 years old when this record came out. So, a personal favorite of mine. I grew up listening to this record. I was there when Eminem burst on the scene with the My Name Is video, heard it on the radio, and it instantly blew my mind. And ever since then, I've been a fan. I've watched Eminem go from this point to where he is now as being one of the greatest MCs of all time. And this record right here was definitely the beginning of that, of his journey, of him just continuing to skyrocket into a rap superstar that he is today. And it holds a personal place in my heart because this was an album that actually got me back into hip-hop. I actually stopped listening to hip-hop for a couple of years after the murders of Tupac and Biggie, and this record was really responsible for reintroducing me and bringing my interest back into the genre. So I'm definitely excited to get into this review. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into these songs because it's quite a bit. And, I don't want to hold you guys up. So stay tuned. Keep it locked in. Alright, so after a brief introduction, a public service announcement, the album kicks off into the first official song, which is My Name Is. My Name Is, that was the second single from this record. It's arguably probably the biggest hit from the album, honestly. Everybody knows this song. Everybody recognizes that beat when it comes in. People know the hook by heart. The high, my name is Chicka Chicka Slim Shady. Everybody knows that. It's gone beyond just being a hip-hop classic. Honestly, it's a pop cultural classic. And this song for the most part just introduces the Slim Shady character. It's got these weird out of control stories that are just hard to believe, but it's mixed in with a little bit of real life events. So Eminem is just setting the stage, setting the tone of what this album is about. He's giving a bit of an origin story of Slim Shady mixed in with the real Eminem story of himself, but it's just very cartoonish and quirky and out of control. I mean, it's a funny song. It's definitely one of the dopest songs on the record. It's lyrically top notch, but it's just humorous. It's like listening to a comedy record or watching some type of comedy sketch. It's very hilarious. So it samples a song called I Got The by a British musician named Labi Siffre. I hope I pronounced his last name right. I probably just butchered it, man, but that's where the sample comes from. The whole piano, keyboard, and everything in the beat. Yeah, Dr. Dre really hooked that sample up. And like I said, it's kind of semi-autobiographical. He just intertwines it with some really fictionalized versions of that would be the Slim Shady alter ego. But there's just a couple of lines on the song where he talks about his dad, where he says that he slit his dad's throat in a dream that he had, because we all pretty much know the disdain that Eminem actually had for his real father. And then there's a line where he talks about 99% of my life I was lied to. I just found out my mom does more drugs than I do. That's an illusion, and it's a foreshadowing of things to come on future albums where Eminem just really goes in on his mom. But here on this song, you just get hints of what his mom might have been like, and she actually ended up suing him because of that line later on. So that's pretty much it. There's not really anything too complex about this track. It's just the introduction of pretty much what this album is gonna be. So then we get to the next track called Guilty Conscience, which was also one of the big singles from the album. And this is a collaboration between Eminem and Dr. Dre. And in my opinion, this is probably the greatest collaboration that Dre and Eminem have ever done. I don't think any of the other songs that they've done together really hold up as well as Guilty Conscience, because it's such a unique concept and story that goes along with this. But the song is broken down into 3 scenarios or stories, and each one is being narrated by a voice actor named Mark Avery, who actually is best known for doing a lot of voiceover work for the National Geographic Channel. But Dre and Eminem, they take on the role of the good conscience and the bad conscience. So Eminem and his Slim Shady alter ego is the evil one. Dre is the good one. The 3 stories are a guy who tries to rob a liquor store, a guy who takes advantage of an underage girl at a party, and a construction worker who comes home to find his wife cheating. The first 2 stories are pretty cool, but the third one is the one that I really want to focus on because I think it's the most interesting. So a construction worker named Grady comes home, and he walks in on his wife having sex with another man in their trailer. And he immediately goes off, but right before he can take any further steps, both the good conscience and the bad conscience, Dre and Slim, they come in, they take effect. So Dre, of course, is being the good one. He's trying to get this guy to calm down, to use some rational thinking before he does something he regrets. And of course, Slim, being the evil one, he wants this guy to react off of his emotions and just lose control. So there's a back and forth between Slim and Dre or what this guy should do. Slim, even though he's the evil one, he does make a few good points because Dre says something on his part about, hey, wait, maybe there's an explanation for her doing this. And then Slim, he responds with, like, what? She tripped, fell, landing on his dick. And Dre even goes on to kind of agree with Slim, like, he's got a point. But he also tells him to think about the baby that him and his wife had together. So there's a continuous back and forth. And where it really gets interesting for me is when Eminem, he tells the guy to be smart. He said, you're going to take advice from somebody who slapped D Barnes? Now, D Barnes, that's a domestic case that Dr. Dre got caught up in back in the early 90s. You definitely can look it up on the internet. I'm sure you can find stories about it. She was the host of a popular hip-hop show on Fox called Pump It Up back in the early 90s. And Dr. Dre beat her up, and he caught a case for that. But Eminem said in the interview that he was actually nervous when he said that line because he had only known Dr. Dre for a few days. But he said that when he spit that line in the booth, Dre actually fell out of his chair laughing. You all listening can take that how you want to take it. But another part that's interesting to me is when Eminem continues, he says, Mr. Dre, Mr. NWA, Mr. AK coming straight out of Compton, y'all better make way. How in the F you gonna tell this man not to be violent? This is Eminem calling Dre a hypocrite for his, I guess, pacifist type approach to the whole situation. Because we all know Dr. Dre is one of the founding members of NWA, one of the biggest gangster rap groups of all time. They helped to pioneer gangster rap. And if you've listened to any of their records, a lot of their subject matter when it came to violence and sexually explicit content was very, very extreme, especially on their second album, N Words for Life. So he basically calls Dre a hypocrite, which I thought was interesting. Dre responds back saying, been there, done that, which is a reference to a Dr. Dre song that came out after he left Death Row when he formed Aftermath. But Dre finally just concedes and was like, you know what am I saying? Shoot them both, Grady. Where's your gun at? And then you hear 2 gunshots of Grady pretty much killing his wife and the lover that she was with. But I just really thought that this song was an interesting take on how Slim and Dre take on the good conscious, bad conscious thing that some of us probably deal with in real life when we're faced with sticky situations. But it's a really cool song. It was one of the biggest singles from the album, and it had a really great video that went along with it that really showed and visualized the different scenarios where people were getting caught up in these situations. So now we go to track number 4, which is called Brain Damage. Now this song right here is one of my all-time favorite Eminem songs in general, because it has a really great rhyme scheme to it, and it's another great story. So this is another song that is told from the perspective of the Slim Shady character, but it's also intertwined with real life events that took place in Eminem's life. So in a nutshell, this is Eminem pretty much telling the stories of how he was bullied when he was in school, when he was in elementary and junior high. If you do your research, and it's not hard, but you will find stories where Eminem talks about his childhood, how he was a victim of some very terrible bullying. I mean, there's one bully that beat him up so bad that Eminem was in a coma. Yeah, it was that bad. So this song is all about those situations, and it's creative as the song is. It's really kind of sad too, because Eminem really didn't have anybody in his corner when he was going through this, because nobody at the school administrators, the teachers, or nobody was really helping him. As a matter of fact, in the first verse, a bully just tells him, like, hey, after school at 3 o'clock, I'm gonna beat you up. And Eminem was like, why, man? I already gave you my lunch money. And he tries to lie his way out of, meeting up with the bully. And the lie falls through, because he ends up not being consistent with it, and the teacher catches on to it. And she gives him extra homework. He asks her, why do you want to do that? Why can't you just give me after school detention? And she even tells him, like, nah, that bully wants to beat your ass and I'm gonna let him. Now, I honestly don't think that actually took place. I don't think that the teacher actually told him that she was gonna let the bully beat him up, but it's just Eminem's way through the alter ego of Slim Shady. He's trying to show you how, even when all this was going on in school, the teachers weren't even helping him. He was just on his own trying to deal with this. Then in the next verse, this is the one where he talks about the bully that really beat him up and put him in a coma. A guy named D'Angelo Bailey, who ended up suing Eminem later for this, because of this song. But he lost the case. He got dismissed. But yeah, this guy beats him up severely in the bathroom, and Eminem even says that the principal came in and helped him beat him up. Again, I don't think that actually happened. That's just Eminem pointing out how the school faculty pretty much just turned a blind eye to him being bullied. But what I like about this verse is this is where the Slim Shady character is born, and he manifests, because he decides that he's not going to take this anymore, and he's going to take revenge on the bully. So in this part, he actually talks about going into a janitor's closet and getting a broomstick and some other type of tools, and he starts talking about how this is for every time that you stole my seat in the lunchroom and drank my chocolate milk, every time you tipped my tray and it dropped and it spilled. I'm getting you back, bully, now once and for good. I caught the broomstick back and swung hard as I could and beat him over the head with it till I broke the wood, knocked him down, stood on his chest with one foot. That part right there. Now, I've heard a lot of people say that this album and this song in particular actually helped them and gave them the confidence and courage to stand up to bullies. So as much criticism as Eminem was getting during this period, there was actually people out there that he was helping. And this song right here, in this part, this particular line right here, actually is something that helped a lot of people and gave them courage. But as you go on, he talks about coming home later on that day. He says, I made it home later that same day, started reading a comic, and suddenly everything became gray. I couldn't even see what I was trying to read. I went deaf and my left ear started to bleed. This is actually a reference to something that happened to him. When that bully, D'Angelo Bailey, actually beat him up in real life, this actually happened to him when he was in the hospital. He had temporary sight loss, and he had temporary hearing loss because of that. He got beat up pretty bad. So this references this. But then his mom comes in. Now this part right here signifies how he didn't have much hope at home either, because of the way his mom was. So it says, my mother started screaming, what are you, on drugs? Look at you, you're getting blood all over my rug. He says, I'm sorry. Then she starts to beat him over the head with a remote control. She beat me over the head with the remote control, opened the hole, and my whole brain fell out of my skull. I picked it up and screamed, look, bitch, what have you done? Oh my God, I'm sorry, son. Shut up, you C word. I'm not going to say that word. We all know what the C word is. But he says, F it, took it and stuck it back up in my head. Then I sewed it shut and put a couple of screws in my neck. Now he's kind of equating himself to the Frankenstein character. So this is where you get this is where it confirms that, okay, all this bullying that Eminem was going through and him not having much better success or better hope at home with where his mom was, this is talking about how this is what all created and birthed the Slim Shady alter ego. This is why you have Slim Shady. Slim Shady is the more abrasive, out of control, just psychotic side of Eminem. And this song is telling you that these are the things that really created that character. So after Brain Damage, we go into the song called If I Had. And this is another awesome song. It's one of my top 5. If I had a top 5 Eminem songs, this probably would make it. Now this song actually isn't rapped from the perspective of Slim Shady. I wouldn't even say it's rapped from the perspective of Eminem. This is Marshall Mathers. This is him just pouring out his soul about how he's tired of living in poverty, how he's tired of struggling to get where he wants to get. He's got all these obstacles in his way, and it's just a great song that really does a great job in invoking the vulnerability and pain that Eminem was going through at this time. This song actually originally appeared on the Slim Shady EP, which preceded this album. And I don't think this song was even remixed or anything. It wasn't tampered with. I think this song was put on this album as it originally appeared on the Slim Shady EP. But he just talks about all the things that he's tired of. Every line in the verses starts with, I'm tired. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of... He goes into great detail talking about he's tired of even wearing the same clothes. He's tired of wearing the same hat. He's tired of sleeping with the same girl. He's tired of working his 9-to-5 job, the boss breathing down his neck. He's just tired of all these obstacles that are in his way. And he's tired of the whole white trash stereotype that he's falling under. He just wants to get past all of this. And the production on this album, which is produced by the Bass Brothers and Eminem, I like the kind of somber synths they add to this song, because it really helps to display the pain that Eminem was feeling. Because I can remember when I first heard this song back in the day when this album came out, that I remember listening to this song and I was thinking like, man, this dude, his life is hard, man. His life sucks. And you got to understand that when he originally wrote and recorded this album, it was on, this song, it was on the Slim Shady EP. So this was before he even met Dr. Dre and got signed. So you can imagine all the crap he was dealing with before he even met Dre. So he just had so many obstacles in his life, and this song really does evoke what he was dealing with. So now we go to 97 Bonnie and Clyde. And this is another great song from Eminem on this album. It's definitely one of my favorites. It originally appeared on the Slim Shady EP, and it was called Just the Two of Us, and it had a sample of the Bill Withers song of the same name. Now, I've heard that version, but I actually think that this version on the Slim Shady LP, which is retitled 97 Bonnie and Clyde, I think it's superior to that one. This one also has Eminem's daughter on it, Haley Jade. She's on this song. Now, at the time that this song came out, she was a toddler. She was a little girl, but she's on the song. You will hear her. If you listen to the song, you will hear her. So this is probably one of the most disturbing songs on this album, honestly, but it's really good. In this song, Eminem has pretty much killed his baby mom. He's killed Kim, and he's pretty much kidnapping his daughter Haley, and she's going with him to dispose of the body. And what's so genius about this song is that he's explaining everything to her in a childlike manner. He's talking to her like a parent would a small child. You know, you're not just gonna straight up tell your mom tell your small child, hey, yeah, I just killed your mom. You're not gonna talk to him like an adult about it. But that's the genius behind this song, is that all through the song he just keeps that childlike demeanor as he's talking to his daughter, but it still comes off so good. Like, there's even one part in the song where he talks to her in baby talk, He says, I told you it's okay. Hey, hey, want a baby? Take a night, boo, 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 gaga. I mean, it's pretty funny. Listen to me say it. It's funny. But if you listening to it in the context of this song, it's really genius and it really comes off perfect. It's just an amazing song. But even though it's disturbing that, in this song, he's killed his ex and his daughter is pretty much with him, helping him dispose of the body. The song also goes to show the love that Eminem has for his daughter, because I don't think there's not one Eminem album where Haley isn't mentioned, where there's not a song about her. Like, Eminem really loves his daughter, and this song right here was one of the first instances to show that. As a matter of fact, at the end of the song, Eminem, he starts talking to her, and he's telling her something like this. This is what he's telling her. He's like, just the two of us, just me and you, baby. It's all we need in this world. Just me and you. Your dada will always be here for you. Your dada is always going to love you. Remember that. If you ever need me, I'm always going to be here for you. You ever need anything, just ask. Dada will be right there. Your dada loves you. I love you, baby. I'm not even going to lie. It's kind of a bit of a tearjerker, man, but it's just showing you how much Eminem loves his daughter and what he was willing to do to the remainder of her life. At the time that he did this song, him and Kim had split up, and she was seeing some other guy, and she was trying to keep Eminem from seeing his daughter. So this song, he wrote this as a reaction to how he felt about that. So yeah, it's disturbing. It's disturbing. And it also started rumors where people actually thought that he killed his ex-girlfriend. But he clarifies that later in the album. But it's disturbing as it is. It really just shows to evoke what Eminem was willing to do to be in his daughter's life and how much he loved and cared about her. So now we go to Role Model. That's the next song. Role Model was also another one of the big singles from the album. This song, there's really not much to talk about with this song. There's not really, even Eminem said himself that he was just effing around when he made this song. To him, it's just a rap record. Yeah, this is what he says. I was just effing around when I made this song. To me, it's just a rap record. The message behind it is just complete sarcasm. I want it to be clear. Don't look at me like I'm a effing role model. Dre and I were in the studio at his house, and he made the track first. And I had started the rhyme the night before, and well, he pretty much just goes on talking about how he wrote the song. But like he said, it's just a rap record. The hook is just a sarcastic take on role models, because everything he says in the hooks are things that role models would not do. Because in this first hook, he says, now follow me and do exactly what you see. Don't you want to grow up to be just like me? I slap women and eat shrooms, then OD. Now, don't you want to grow up to be just like me? And let me check out the next chorus is like, I came to the club drunk with a fake ID. Don't you want to grow up to be just like me? I've been with 10 women who got HIV. Now, don't you want to grow up to be just like me? I got genital warts and it burns when I pee. Don't you want to grow up to be just like me? I tie a rope around my penis and jump from a tree. You probably want to grow up to be just like me. So everything he says in those choruses are just the total opposite of what a role model or what people deem as role models. But one thing I wanted to point out in this song is that he takes a couple of shots at a few MCs. He takes a shot at Cannabis, who is a renowned lyricist in hip-hop, especially in underground hip-hop. In the first verse, in the first two lines, he says, I'm cancerous, so when you dish... I'm cancerous, so when I dish, you wouldn't want to answer this. If you responded back with a battle rap you wrote for Cannabis. Pretty ill line. Not nothing too bad, but it's a slick line at Cannabis. Because, Cannabis is a well-respected lyricist, so Eminem is saying that if you ghost wrote from him, that you would really have to be very good in order to, match where Cannabis is, because Cannabis he's one of the most well-respected MCs in hip-hop. But the part where he says I'm cancerous, so when I dish you wouldn't want to answer this. Cannabis, not the rapper, but the marijuana, Cannabis, it's been said to kill cancer or cure people with cancer. But Eminem is saying that he's so cancerous that even if you came at him something that you wrote for cannabis, you still will have a hard time succeeding in annihilating him. That's just how bad, that's just how lethal he is. Then he takes a shot at another underground rapper named Cage, another respected MC. Cage accused Eminem of stealing his style, because apparently Cage had a similar type, I don't want to say gimmick, but he had a similar type thing where he had an alter ego that was crazy. But Cage was actually really crazy as a person. But when Eminem burst on the scene with the Slim Shady thing, Cage accused Eminem of stealing that from him, from his similar type character. But M doesn't really go too deep into him. He just drops him a couple lines saying, cause when I drop this solo shit, it's over with. I bought Cage's tape, opened it, and dubbed over it. So he was basically saying, yeah, I bought your tape, but your rhymes were so garbage that I just dubbed it over with my stuff. You know, nothing too like lethal, but he just taking a little bit shots at these two rappers, man. But that's about the most interesting thing that I got from that album, that song. So after Role Model, we got the song My Fault. Now this is another favorite of mine, because My Fault, this is a story about Eminem and some of his friends going to a rave party, and they hook up with these girls. But Eminem's girl in particular, her name is Susan. She's a recovering drug addict, and Eminem describes her in the first verse. He says, I went to John's rave with Ron and Dave and met a new wave blonde babe with half of her head shaved. A nurse aide who came to get laid and tied up with first aid tape and raped on the first date. Susan, an ex-heroin addict who just stopped using, who loved booze and alternative music, told me she was going back into using again. I said, wait, first try this hallucinogen. You know, Eminem was into like hallucinogen drugs, like shrooms and pills and stuff like that. So this chick is a recovering drug addict that's obviously about to relapse. Eminem introduces her to shrooms. Well, actually, this is the Slim Shady character. This isn't Eminem. This is Slim Shady. But he shares his shrooms with her. He only eats a couple, and she eats the whole freaking bag. And M is like, whoa, you ate the whole bag? And then she starts freaking out. She starts having a bad trip. She starts freaking out. She starts hallucinating. She starts bringing up her past, which was pretty screwed up when you listen to the song. And she's trying to kill herself. She's talking to plants. Things are just going crazy. And Eminem, he's high too. Not as high as her, but he's trying to calm her down as much as he can. And he's like, yo, I gotta get you to a hospital. And so he goes to talk to one of his friends who he apparently got the shrooms from. He's like, yo, man, what's up with these shrooms, man? This girl's up here tripping out and everything. And the guy says, well, it depends on how much you guys had. He says, I only ate 2 and she ate the rest. And his friend's like, oh, she's gonna die, dude. So, and that's what happened. She ends up dying, ODing off the shrooms. And Eminem, at the end of the song, he's laying, I guess he's over her body. He's trying to get her to wake up. She's dead. He's crying, pleading with her to please wake up. And I'm pretty sure that he's crying not because he misses her, because he didn't know the girl, but he's crying because he know that he's more than likely going to go to prison for her death, because it was his shrooms that she ate. But that song, it's pretty disturbing. I mean, when you listen to the lyrics and you hear what's being discussed, it's pretty disturbing. And another interesting thing that I want to not forget to mention is that M does such a great job at like voice acting and mimicking the different characters. Like he'll switch his voice to sound like to mimic a female voice when he's rapping from the perspective of Susan or one of his other friends. So he does a lot of voice acting per se. He just changes his voice to mimic the different characters that are involved in the story. So this is another testament to where I believe that Eminem is one of the greatest storytellers in hip-hop. So it's definitely one of my top Eminem songs of all time. Alright, now we get to the next song after My Fault, which is called Come On Everybody. Now, there's nothing really special about this song. This is Eminem making a party rap song, and he even said that that's all that this record was that he wanted to just make a party song. Because he says in his book Angry Blonde, "Come On Everybody was another song I did between the EP and the LP. I wanted to make a dance parody. It was during the Puffy stage when Puff was really hot. So when I wrote the song, I thought, what if I made a dance song my way? So I was taking the most ridiculous stuff and then coming in with the hook, come on everybody." So that's all that this song is. It's really him just making a parody out of those popular rap party songs that was really hot during this period. Because this is like the Jiggy era of hip hop, when Bad Boy Records was really at the top and so forth. So that's all it is. It's just a very twisted type of party song. But one thing that I do find interesting about this song is the first two lines of the first verse, where it says, "My favorite color is red, like the blood shed from Kurt Cobain's head when he shot himself dead." Honestly, man, that's got to be one of the best opening lines I ever heard in a hip-hop song. Come on, man. Kurt Cobain had only been dead like 5 years at this point. So you could technically say that his death was still kind of fresh, especially amongst Nirvana fans. And you know how a lot of Nirvana fans are about Kurt Cobain. So I just thought that was another bold move on Eminem's part to start that line off, or start that verse off with those two lines, man, because it was actually really good. And personally for me, this was the first time I'd ever heard of Kurt Cobain, because I wasn't familiar with Nirvana back then. I found out about them later, but hey, I guess you could kind of say Eminem sort of introduced me to Nirvana, for better or for worse. But this song also features Dina Ray. She's a singer and an author, but she used to do a lot of work with Eminem and D12 back around this period. She's known amongst the Eminem fan base as Track 13 Girl, because on a few of Eminem's albums, from this album up until D12's D12 World album, she appeared on Track 13. She would always appear on Track 13. She did it on this record. She did it on Drug Ballad on Marshall Mathers LP, Superman on the Eminem Show, and I can't quite recall the song she did on D12 World. But yeah, she was a frequent collaborator with Eminem and his crew back then. But yeah, that's all this song really is. It's nothing really special. There's no interesting story behind it or anything. It's just a party song written from the point of view of Eminem, the way he would want to do it. So the next song on here is called Rock Bottom. And to me, this song goes more in line with what we heard on If I Had. It has that same subject matter, that same type of vibe, because Eminem, again, he's talking about his struggle. And this is also the second song on the album where he is not rapping from the Slim Shady persona. He's rapping from Eminem or Marshall Mathers. But this song, it has the similar subject matter of If I Had, but I think that at the time that he wrote this song, he was actually going through a lot more. He was like in a deep depression, and this song actually he was actually inspired to write this song because he got fired from his cooking job at a restaurant just days before his daughter's birthday. Haley was born somewhere around Christmas time, I believe. But it really got him down, and it's him just addressing these struggles of dealing with all this crap, him just feeling like there's nowhere else to go. He's just rock bottom. He's at the very bottom now. And I actually remember this story. I saw this in some type of documentary that they did on Eminem on MTV years ago, where Kim was telling a story about how he had got fired and he didn't have any money, so she bought Haley all her birthday / Christmas presents, and that she lied to Haley and told her that some of them were from Eminem. And Eminem, he was just so heartbroken that he couldn't buy presents for his daughter that he just went in the other room and just cried. But yeah, this song right here, man, it's it's deep, man. Sometimes I usually don't really listen to it that much, but I've kind of grown to like listen to this song more now that I know the story behind it, and I listen to the lyrics, man, because it's just another song that really shows like how hard Eminem really struggled in order to get to where he is now. So then we go to the next song on here, which is called I Just Don't Give a F. Now this song was actually the first single from the album. This was the first single from the album. I didn't even know nothing about this song because My Name Is was the first time I'd ever heard Eminem. But this song actually first appeared on the Slim Shady EP, but it had a slightly different instrumental. They changed some things up a little bit on this version on the Slim Shady LP, and it was written during one of Eminem's most turbulent times in his life. I mean, I think Haley had just been born when this record came out. Him and Kim were living with his mom. They were supposed to have been paying his mom rent. I don't think they had the money to really do that. He started getting more into drugs and alcohol because he was depressed about the way his life was and how he was struggling. But the song, for the most part, it doesn't really have like a concept behind it. I think that most of the song is really just Eminem having a reaction to what he was going through at the time. He was just pretty much saying he just don't give a F. He just don't give a F. And I really like the beat and the sound of this record, man, because it kind of has like a bombastic, kind of chaotic vibe to it. It has this kind of New York boom bapish type beat to it. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like maybe Public Enemy or some sort in a lot of ways. Maybe just not as chaotic as the Bomb Squad does, but it kind of has that similar vibe to it. Then after I Just Don't Give a F, man, we go to As the World Turns. And this is another song on the record that is rapped from the perspective of the Slim Shady persona. Probably one of the most out of this world songs on here, man. There's really not much of a concept on this record. Basically, it's just Eminem and his Slim Shady alter ego just rapping a bunch of crazy stuff. And he even said that, like, you know, the song really didn't have a meaning behind it. He just wanted to write like just some crazy rhymes just to be interesting. But one thing for sure is that there's a line in here about him microwaving a guinea pig. Yeah, if I can find it. Yeah, it's a line in here about him microwaving a guinea pig. Apparently, Eminem, he didn't do this maliciously, actually. He didn't do this maliciously, but he had a guinea pig as a pet, and he thought the guinea pig was cold, or he felt that the guinea pig was cold, and he put it in the microwave to warm it up, and he ended up accidentally killing it. And his mom said that he was very distraught behind that, because, you know, he was a small child when he did this, so, you know, he didn't know any better at that point. But it's not like he did it maliciously, like he was a serial killer. Like, you know how that's how most people start showing signs of being a serial killer. They start just killing animals for no reason. But that's about the only interesting thing about it. And he like tells these two stories of him getting into fights with like these overweight chicks. It's just a really crazy, psychotic, Slim Shady story. That's all that it really is. So then we get to the next song, which is called I'm Shady. Now this song right here is one of my favorites from the record, and it pretty much sums up the Slim Shady character. That's all that it really does. You know, it says Eminem raps about his life as a white trash drug dealer and helps introduce the Slim Shady character to the masses. So that's pretty much it. And the inspiration behind this song came from Ice-T's I'm Your Pusher, which was also inspired by Curtis Mayfield's Pusher Man. Because if you listen to the song, because this is how the hook goes. The hook goes, I got mushrooms, I got acid, I got tabs and aspirin tablets. I'm your brother when you need some good weed to set you free. You know me, I'm your friend when you need a mini thin. I think a mini thin is some type of pill or something that was popular back in the day. But yeah, when you listen to the song, he spits that verse. He raps that verse in the cadence of what you hear on Ice-T's I'm Your Pusher and Curtis Mayfield's Pusher Man. But that's all that it really is. And it's not really much of a story behind it. It's just another Slim Shady story that's out of this world. But he also goes on to clarify some things. You know, throughout this album, Eminem's been talking about, or the Slim Shady character's been talking about all these drugs and things that he does. And he clarifies the drugs that he does and does do. So here we go. Here's the line. He says, well, I do take pills, don't do speed, don't do crack, don't do coke. I do smoke weed, don't do smack. I do shrooms, do drink beer. I just want to make a few things clear. So he's clarifying the drugs that he actually does and the ones that he don't. So the ones that he don't really does, what he mentions, that's probably the Slim Shady alter ego. Because Slim Shady, that's the alter ego that takes it to the next level. And then, you remember I said earlier that when he did that song 97 Bonnie and Clyde, people actually were thinking that he had killed his ex-girlfriend. So he clarifies that he didn't kill her right here. He says, my baby mama's not dead, she's still alive and bitching, which I thought was pretty funny. Like, okay, she's still alive, but you know, the relationship still ain't great either. So that's all he really does on that song. He just makes a few clarifications about what drugs he does and don't do, and that he really didn't kill his baby mom like everybody thinks he did. But it's a really cool song. It's actually one of my favorites from the album. I really like how he did the hook on this record. It's really cool. But then we get to Bad Meets Evil. And Bad Meets Evil is one of the highlights on this album, because it's a collaboration between him and Royce the 5'9", another dope lyricist in hip-hop, also from Detroit. And Eminem and Royce, they're actually a duo known as Bad Meets Evil. They were a huge underground success back during this time. They had released a few singles independently that were like huge success amongst the underground hip-hop community. And after they did this song, they ended up having a falling out, and they was kind of beefing for a number of years, but they did end up reconciling, because him and Royce are close, they're family now. But there's not much of a story behind this record either. What it does do is it displays the awesome chemistry between Eminem and Royce, which is why I will say they're probably one of the greatest hip-hop duos that most people probably haven't even heard of, man, because they don't really have that much material out aside from the underground singles and then the album that they put out about several years ago called Hell, the sequel. But both of them are just lethal, man. It's hard to sometimes really tell who outshines who, because they both bring their A game. But if I was to say so, I would probably give it to Royce, because Royce, not just pertaining to this song, but a lot of times when Royce and Eminem collaborate, he seems to bring like some type of beast mode out of Eminem. Eminem just knows he has to take it to the next level, but Royce is a high caliber MC just as much as Eminem, and it really displays on this song. I mean, they just coming up with the wickedest lines ever on this freaking song, man. And it's definitely one of the biggest highlights on this album. And it, you know, people were disappointed for a long time after this song came out, and you know, they didn't come out with an album together because the whole beef and everything. But it's a great song. And at the end of the song, when they're talking or whatever, giving the shout outs, Royce the 5'9" says, you know, see you in hell for the sequel, which is funny because, you know, that ends up leading to the album that they did back in 2011 called Hell, the sequel, which you definitely should check out. You definitely should check out that album. It's really good. But yeah, not much of a story going on here, man. It's just mainly them just spitting, just lethal rhymes. And finally, we get to the last track on the album, which is called Still Don't Give a F. This song is a sequel to the song that appeared earlier called I Just Don't Give a F. This is the sequel. This is part 2. Because Eminem explained in his book, Angry Blind, this was my manager Paul's concept. Talking about Paul Rosenberg. He called me one day while I was in Cali saying, you need to just do a I Just Don't Give a F part 2. I responded, yeah, still don't give a F. Now, this album, it kind of has the same beat as I Just Don't Give a F, but this song is a bit more sinister. It's a bit more darker than that song because, you know, I Just Don't Give a F was actually a single. It was actually a single for the album. It was the first single, but this one is the last song on the record. So it has these kind of eerie, dark keyboard piano siffs, and Eminem is just coming aggressive. So this record pretty much just sums up the whole album. Eminem is just letting you know that no matter what you think about me, no matter what you say about me, if you don't like me, whatever, I don't care. I still don't give a F. I'm gonna be who I am, and that's just how it's gonna be. Cause when you read the chorus, it goes like this: for all the weed that I've smoked, yo, this blunt's for you. To all the people I've offended, yeah, F you too. To all the friends I used to have, I miss my past, but the rest of you a-hoes can kiss my ass. For all the drugs that I've done, yo, I'm still gonna do. To all the people I've offended, yeah, F you too. For every time I reminisce, yo, I miss my past, but I still don't give a F. Y'all can kiss my ass. So he's pretty much just summing it up like, hey, I really don't care. I'm gonna just be who I am, and if you don't like it, well, F you, middle finger to you. So that's really all there is to that song. It's not really a huge story behind it. It's just, it's a sequel to I Just Don't Give a F, but it's just more darker and more sinister than what that song was. The Slim Shady LP, for me, is definitely one of the greatest hip-hop albums of all time. And I hold a personal place for it in my heart because, it showed me a different type of hip-hop. Because I didn't know anything about what Eminem was doing. Like, when I first heard My Name Is, that just really blew me away. Because I had never heard an MC spit the way that Eminem did. I had never heard an MC talk about the type of things that he did. For him to come lyrical and at the same time be very funny and be creative and create all these unique stories, it was just something brand new to me. Because I was always used to the more hardcore gangster rappers. Most of them at this time pretty much had the same type of stories and so forth, same type of origins. And that's not to downgrade where they come from, but Eminem just did something different. He not only introduced me to a different type of rap style, but he also showed me that, and this album in particular showed me that you didn't have to have the same type of struggle as everybody else. Because Eminem's struggle was something different. His struggle was mainly like dealing with poverty and dealing with negative stereotypes and trying to make it in the game and be respected, with people overlooking him as being white, And he talked a lot about his like tumultuous relationship with his mom and how he felt about his baby mom trying to keep him from his daughter. There's a lot of vulnerability that Eminem displayed on this album that you didn't really hear from a lot of MCs at this time. Because this was still around the time where you had to be hard in order to be respected as a rapper. And I'm not saying that Eminem was coming off totally soft, but it's just that for him to make a song like Brain Damage, where he's talking about being bullied in school, you didn't hear that from a lot of rappers at that time. Him being pretty open about his drug addiction, how he truly felt about his baby mother trying to keep his daughter away from him, how his mom had a lot to do with how he turned out as an adult. It's just really cool. Like, in a lot of ways, the Slim Shady LP is pretty much telling Eminem's story through the Slim Shady persona. That's really what it's doing. It's kind of telling his story through the Slim Shady alter ego. And it's just an awesome and creative way to do that, because he's also showing all the things that helped to create that alter ego, that went into that, all the trauma that he experienced throughout his life that brought that out of him. But it's just a really fantastic album. And one thing else I want to mention is that I really dig how he took the whole kind of cartoonish vibe with a lot of the subject matter, because as I was listening to this record for this review and I was going back and really reflecting on what I was hearing, I came to the conclusion that when you listen to this record, it's almost like you've just finished watching a twisted and demented version of the Looney Tunes. It's really like that. Like for instance, in the song Brain Damage, when he talks about his mom beating him in the head with the remote control and his brain falling out of his skull. Like that's like something you will see on the Looney Tunes. Or the weird, crazy story he tells about as the world turns, of him like getting into like the fights with the overweight women and stuff of that nature, man. All these real weird, zany, whimsical stories that he tells on this record, man. It's just like you're experiencing some twisted, darker version of the Looney Tunes. And I think that's another thing that appeals to me so much about this record. But it's definitely a great record that I always seem to listen to from time to time. You know, it always gets constant replay with me. You know, it was a part of my childhood. I grew up on it, and it's, you know, seeing where Eminem is now as an artist, and then listening to this record is really amazing to see where he's come from. You know, he actually did what he wanted to do. He actually became a huge rap star. He's one of the best-selling artists of all time, and it's just really cool to try to listen to this record and you kind of get that sense of a rags to riches story. So just a big shout out to Eminem for putting out this record, because despite of all the criticism he got for it, he actually did help a lot of people when they heard this record. He actually made people who probably didn't fit in anywhere fit in somewhere. So just kudos to him. And if you've never really sat down and listened to the Slim Shady LP, then you're definitely missing out. I mean, go on your Spotify, YouTube, wherever you can find this record and just listen to it, because it's an amazing album, and it's definitely a classic. It's definitely a masterpiece within hip hop. So the Slim Shady LP, you know, it's a great album, and hey, if you haven't heard it, you're missing out. Definitely go check it out. I just want to take the time to say thanks to everybody for tuning in to this week's episode. Hope you really enjoyed the content. If you did, please be sure to follow me on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Anchor, all at The Boombox Guru. You can also follow me on Instagram at The Boombox Guru. You can like my Facebook page, The Boombox Guru. Be sure to tell your friends, your family, anybody that you know that may be interested in music commentary, music discussion. Be sure to tell them, like the page, follow the pages, share it. Just really help to promote and get me out there, everybody. And as always, I hope you all have a good day and you be blessed. Peace out.